ostentate, more faith, no religion. Cut the grass low, see the snakes, better vision. Circumcision pause, cut their heads off. Loyalty, no improvision of boss. Y'all gon' learn y'all lesson. Class in, what's the science?
We the take brothers, every time you speak real, they take something. Either your life, freedom or money, but them snakes coming. 300, yeah, we might be few, but heart off of sparring. Niggas carry sticks to make that bread, not talking Olive Garden. Darling Parton, looking like Dolly Parton. Please get the...
Dwyane Wade, being a fan of the secret source.
I think it's a possibility. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's a possibility. Wherever there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I'm saying? So, I think it's a possibility.
Our people were colonized. They were suffering all forms of colonization, oppression, exploitation, degradation, humiliation, discrimination, and every other kind of Asian. And in a short time, they have gained more independence, more recognition, more respect as human beings than you and I have.
Without sexual energy, the soul atrophies, breaking our connection with God. When we expel sexual energy, we expel the energy that fuels our inner senses. This is why those who fornicate, who expel the sexual energy through orgasm, cannot perceive God directly.
And in vitro fertilization in her own womb, 10 months later gave birth to Adamu, which means first man, and that was Adam. After that, there was this tablet that came out called the Myth of Adapu. It talks about the fact that we are created in a way where Enki, he added something a little extra to us that he wasn't supposed to do. He gave us the capability of having, in the future, of superseding the Anunnaki themselves.
American laws are not the black man's laws.
Well, the laws here in America were made by white people for the benefit of white people. The Constitution was written by whites for the benefit of whites. It was never written for the benefit of blacks. And when you read the Constitution, I think in Article 1, Section 2, or Section 1, Article 1, one of the two, and it's in the Constitution, it says that it classifies black people as 3/5 of a man. 3/5 of a man, subhuman, less than a human being. It relegates us to the level of cattle, hogs, chickens, cows, a commodity that could be bought and sold at the will of the master. No, it was written by whites for the benefit of whites and to the detriment of blacks. And when a black man stands up talking about his constitutional rights, he's out of his mind. Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies. Everybody is here. As many of you know, last March, when it was announced that I was no longer in the Black Muslim movement, it was pointed out that it was my intention to work among the 22 million non-Muslim Afro-Americans and to try and form some type of organization or create a situation where the young people, our young people, the students and others, could study the problems of our people for a period of time and then come up with a new analysis and give us some new ideas and some new suggestions as to how to approach a problem that too many other people had been playing around with for too long. And that we would have some kind of meeting and determine at a later date whether to form a black nationalist party or a black nationalist army.
Man is the active force, the reflection of God the Father, while woman is the receptive force, the reflection of God the Mother, and sex is the force that brings them together. These are the three forces that give rise to all creation and form the foundation of the universal symbol of the Trinity. Now, this sacred Trinity forms the bedrock of all creation, symbolizing the inherent creative and transformative power within us. When this energy is directed upwards, it elevates our consciousness, connecting us with higher realms and spiritual truths. Conversely, if misused or directed downwards, it can lead to destruction and disharmony. This is sexual energy, the force that powers all creation on all levels. Sexual energy is symbolized by fire, water, and light. In the tradition of alchemy, sexual energy is symbolized by Mercury. Mercury is found in the rock. So the allegory, when Moses hits the foundation stone, the rock, we find the waters of life, aka enlightenment. The ancient ritual of baptism is also a symbol of the transmutation of sexual energy, the source of salvation. All of life is born of the sexual waters. Harnessing the force of that electric sexual energy or practicing semen retention implies a great responsibility. We know what happens when we expel our semen through ejaculation. We lose to the spirit called temptation. We lose our energy, our mental power, and our spirit. Life becomes a wilderness. We inherit darkness, weakness, fear, worry, dissatisfaction, and even premature death. According to ancient beliefs, during the time of Adam and Eve, the sacred act of sex was only practiced within the temples under the guidance of the Elohim. In this sacred process, the angels would supervise and guide a single sperm to meet an egg at the precise moment to create a divinely intentional child. The understanding was that wastefully expelling energy and semen through the orgasm was not required for procreation. The term Immaculate Conception held a hidden meaning, immaculate referring to perfect cleanliness, signifying the perfect and controlled use of the sexual energy. When we engage in sexual activities purely for physical pleasure and succumbing to the orgasm, it means expelling the divine energy, the energy that gives us a higher understanding of life, the energy that makes us the light of the world, the energy that sustains our physical, mental, and spiritual vitality. Adam and Eve are symbols of men and women of the ancient past, ate of the forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge or the secret knowledge of sexuality. They abused the sexual energy in their own bodies by having the orgasm, and therefore they broke the most fundamental rule they had been given. We need to learn how to control the tremendous energy that gives us the ability to create, because it is the same magnetic force that sustains our own vitality. We know that semen retention improves the health of our body, the health of our mind. The transmutation of it also sustains the health of our inner senses, the 7 chakras. These are the unseen senses that gives mankind the connection to the divine. Without sexual energy, the soul atrophies, breaking our connection with God. When we expel sexual energy, we expel the energy that fuels our inner senses. This is why those who fornicate, who expel the sexual energy through orgasm, cannot perceive God directly.
Everyone that deals with him knows this. Either Gabrielle knows this and doesn't care, or she is playing dumb, which I find hard to believe. Well, it seems Dwyane wasn't just stepping out on his marriage with women. There's a twist to this tale, and it involves some secret shenanigans and escapades with men too, if y'all catch my drift. The rumors of Dwyane living on the down low had been floating around for a while, but they weren't getting much attention.
Very suggestive, to say the least. But there's rumors that D. Wade has been cheating not only with women, but with men. Do you believe it? If so, why or why not?
I mean,
you can say rumors, allegedly.
I don't know. I mean, listen, man. I got my opinions, but I don't have no facts. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't really know. But I got my opinions. You know what I mean? The Dwyane Wade always look a little, you know what I mean? A little sweet. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't be too hard for me to believe that would be the case if it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? But once again, like I said, I don't know. You know what I mean? But he looked a little, you know what I mean? Look a little, you know what I mean? Like he had a banana in his tailpipe. You know what I'm saying?
That is. I'm gonna answer this flat out. Yes, I believe that Dwyane Wade it likes the secret sauce from time to time. I believe that he's a Big Mac and he likes the secret sauce from time to time. I do, and I always did. Star Jones, and you're like 22, 23 years old. Come on, man.
She's not attractive, buddy.
She's not an attractive older woman. No offense, Star Jones.
No
my
offense,
opinion.
Star Jones. This is my opinion.
But like, Then all your suggestive ass outfits.
But then you saw Star
Your
Jones.
lips is always greasy like my man Flame from Soul
And then you saw Star Jones got with after Dwyane Wade.
Oh.
A nigga that was gay.
That's
sure.
tight.
For sure. Yeah, she the beard for them, you know what I mean?
Your lips being greased like Flame from Soul Plane. It's also a dead giveaway. Also, things like Dwight Howard getting called out there. I know y'all basketball players. And guess what? I also said Dwight Howard.
I thought Dwight Howard was.
And he don't dress as crazy as y'all and do the things you do, but it's just look in his eyes.
Yeah, looking in his eye, he got that twinkle of a star. How I wonder where you are.
I don't wonder where you are.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't wonder where you are.
You know what I mean? That's what I love that nigga Dwight always had. You know what I mean? Like when he was sitting in the ice bucket. You know what I mean? The ice shit with Kevin. Yeah. He looked like he was enjoying that shit.
Sure.
I was like, damn, I know Kevin Hart wish he never made that one.
Shirt off, looking at each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, he looking at Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? Like,
I know nigga Kevin Hart was looking at him.
Kevin Hart is like, Kevin Hart don't even know. Like, fuck it.
Kevin Hart knows. He's got, everybody in Hollywood is like being in the hood. You know who's who. Just like I was telling you about, I'm not gonna say no names, just like you telling me about a few dudes since I've been in the hood as much.
Oh, yeah, so rumors about a few people.
Rumors of a few people being on DL and doing DL activities. Just like y'all know, the whole industry know who's who.
She got with that nigga after Dwyane Wade. Yeah, and that nigga was trying not to be, you know me, on the down low no more. Yeah.
Al Reynolds and Sue Star Jones got with after Dwyane Wade.
Yeah, she ain't with this nigga no more, but yeah. Yeah, look, he got that too.
I'm not gonna lie, even Star Jones got that. Girl. Oh, she just a beard. I'm start calling her Goatee Jones.
Oh man, Star Jones.
Beard Jones.
You also applies for training and shit. Nah, I'm going too far.
In the tablets, they don't actually make a human being from like dirt and dust like it says in the Bible. Like they didn't create no dirt and just make a human being like magic. What they did was there was an existing hominid already on this planet. So the Ijiji was getting ready to go to war. There was going to be a coup against the kings of Earth. So they came from Mars to Earth. In the H.F.C., they encircled the camp in Africa of Enlil and Enki and Anu, who was their father. Planets were being destroyed. They had weapons called the Brahmanda weapon, which would destroy any man on 3 worlds. They had these tablets of destiny, which whoever had control can destroy people's planets and moons. Debris, imagine in this solar system, debris going everywhere and hitting planets and destroying civilizations. We would flee if we could.
Tablets, there's a different depiction of Adam and Eve, how they were created, and how that relates to the Anunnaki specifically. Right. Can you explain specifically how that was described in the tablets?
So in the tablets, they don't actually make a human being from like dirt and dust like it says in the Bible. Like they didn't create no dirt and just make a human being like magic. What they did was there was an existing hominid already on this planet. So the Ijiji was getting ready to go to war. There was going to be a coup against the kings of Earth. So they came from Mars to Earth. In the HFC, they encircled the camp in Africa of Enlil and Enki and Anu, who was their father. And they're getting ready to go to battle because their working conditions are harsh. They've been working for 250,000 years. No women was one of the biggest complaints. And they felt like they were becoming slaves, even though they were volunteers for this breakaway civilization. The war almost happened, but then Enki, who's Enlil's brother, says, I have an idea. There's an existing being here. They're talking about our cousin, not Homo sapien. Something else was here already. We can add our essence to it and get it to do our labor, to do your labor. And an agreement was made. This is in the Enuma Elish and a totally separate tablet called the Atrahasis Epic. 2 separate tablets saying the same exact thing. And so what they did was they first started with taking genetic material and then making these clones. But the problem with the clones was they couldn't reproduce on their own. Eventually, and they were doing this in a place called Adam's Calendar in Africa, which they discovered recently where the first 200,000-year-old gold mines were. They were putting us to work right away mining gold. And from there, they said, okay, these clones are here, but it's not working out properly. And that's when Nehursag, aka Isis, said, I'm going to take one to term. She took an egg out of a hominid, cleaned out some of the genetic material, added their essence to it. In other words, genetically modified the egg in some way. This is what we call in modern scientific terms making a zygote. And then in vitro fertilization in her own womb, 10 months later gave birth to Adamu, which means first man. And that was Adam. After that, there was this tablet that came out called the Myth of Adapu. It talks about the fact that we are created in a way where Enki, he added something a little extra to us that he wasn't supposed to do. he gave us the capability of having, in the future, of superseding the Anunnaki themselves. And it made the Anunnaki relatives of his jealous of us and angry with us because he had created something that even long term could be better than them. But nobody knew why he did it, but it got him into a battle against his own brother. This is all in ancient tablets. Are the Anunnaki black or African descent? So if you look into the research of the Sumerian tablets, the Enuma Elish, Epic of Gilgamesh, for example, the H.F.C. epic, the Code of Hammurabi, and you see a couple of different descriptions of how these people looked. You look into the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is also talking about these same exact people, and then you also go to Egypt and you read the hieroglyphs. You find out something very interesting. They had African features, but some were almost like a vitiligo type situation where people have these huge patches. They also had some that were extremely dark. If you look at the Sphinx's face of the Sphinx, it's one of the oldest structures still left in Egypt. That is the face of Amun-Ra's son. And so you're looking at the nephew of Thoth the Atlantean. And so you can see the features clearly show that more of an African feature. Some were dark, some had just vitiligo skin. Some of them had light skin, yellow and pale skin, but had African features, blue eyes, and still had naughty blonde hair. Not naughty, but still blonde. Interesting descriptions. These descriptions are really like all over the place. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah, who's actually Sisera in the real text, but in the Bible he's renamed Noah, he is a totally different skin color from the black family that he's with. His skin is glowing bright, he's got blue eyes, but he's got these African type features. It's pretty interesting. Then you find out later on that some other beings arrive here, and they don't look anything like African features. They had what we would consider indigenous Native American features. I don't like to use the word Indians, but they had some more Arabic features. Some had more Asian features, and some had Caucasian features. So we see this mix of different races, and I believe that's because they came from different star systems. That's my personal opinion. When I look at a lot of the ancient texts, I start to see that beings were coming here, but not just from one place, but they were arriving on this planet from multiple places. And according to ancient tribes, this is what they were saying.
These beings were so much more advanced than we are now. Why would they have emotions like jealousy and anger and all these primal sort of emotions? I mean, these sort of things with our species are like the worst thing.
Right.
They're the reason we go to war and kill each other and people starve.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So when you read the beginning of how they started out, it appears that there was a galactic war millions of years ago in the Pleiadian star system. Planets were being destroyed. They had weapons called the Brahmanda weapon, which would destroy any man on 3 worlds. They had these tablets of destiny, which whoever had control can destroy people's planets and moons. Debris, imagine in this solar system, debris going everywhere and hitting planets, destroying civilizations. We would flee if we could. People started fleeing these star systems around the Pleiades millions of years ago, creating breakaway civilizations in other parts of the galaxy, different sector altogether. The Anunnaki people, these Atlantean people, they went and started off in another place. They had risen to a high level there. They had done away with the weapons of, then this is interesting, weapons of mass destruction. They had a weapon called a WMD. They were forsaken. A small group of these people broke away and came to kickstart a civilization here on Earth. They stole some of the WMDs and brought them with them. This is in ancient tablets. They put them hid them in a mountain and swore never to use them. But when they got here and they started doing what they were doing and they started breaking all their own rules, they began to realize there's nobody here to guard us. There's nobody here to stop us from doing this. And they said the creator of all is going to get us for this. They even believed somebody was higher than them. They realized that they were acting like the Wild Wild West here. And they started off very strict, and then they gradually, with nobody overseeing them really, they started like going back primal. In other words, the thoughts of war and this and the greed and all that crept back in, and eventually somebody went and got the weapons and they started fighting each other with the weapons. So it was this gradual process over 100,000 years or so between them coming in with a very strict set of rules and engagement and everything else, until it just collapsing over time and realizing, who's going to stop us? Who's going to tell me I can't do this? Nobody's going to come here and stop me from doing it. There's no law here. And then they just went rush out. They went crazy.
Backwards, kind of.
Yes, they went backward. They backslid hard. But it took a couple 100,000 years before they fully backslid.
What is the Ark of the Covenant?
If you look into biblical texts, for example, there was this ark that Moses stole. He had this box. He claimed it was given to him by God, but I think he stole it from the Egyptians. That's why they fled after him.
An ark.
Yeah, so it's this box with these cherubims on it, but these cherubims are really a capacitor. It generates a lot of electricity. Inside of this box is something that has so much radiation, that's what it looks like there, that you had to have on specific type of clothing, which is well described even in the Bible. Rubber boots, gloves, this type of suit with this breastplate of metal on it. This is all to prevent the radiation poisoning. When somebody didn't have it on in the Bible and they touched the ark, they would become very sick. Their hair would fall out, their nose would bleed, their eyes would bleed, their fingernails would fall off. Radiation sickness. This thing was generating some type of radiation power, some type of a generator of power of some sort. And it was connected to the Great Pyramid. It was in that box. Evidence for this, for me, that box has a gigantic piece of the granite missing off one corner, like an explosion happened from inside the box. If you look across the Grand Gallery, across the King's Chamber, there's a wall about maybe 30 feet away. The impact from that giant piece of granite that snapped off, it cut that granite on the wall, the exact shape of that corner piece.
Wow.
Something explosive happened there. For you to throw a piece of granite that heavy, that far, and impact that way, so there was energy in there. Now, if you go back to the story of Moses, it really was Pharaoh Akhenaten. Moses is not the real name. That's the made-up name. Pharaoh Akhenaten, who was ushering in monotheism in Egypt while he was a pharaoh, worshiping Amen-Ra, the great Amen. Amen-Ra was one of these Anunnaki people, said, look, from now on, there'll be no other God but me. That made it into the Bible. When you say thanks, you say thanks to me, you say amen. That made it into the Bible. Teach the people only to worship me, not any of my other relatives. I'm the only one and true God. And he began to do that. Then he made an order to start defacing all the hieroglyphs and all of these statues around Egypt. That's why the noses and the ears are chipped off. That's why the faces are chipped off everywhere you go. Bodies are chipped away. It wasn't done. The hypothesis on the streets is that it was done because white people back then didn't want black people to know that there were black people in Egypt. That's actually false. The true reality is this was done in ancient times, and it was carried on by Coptic Christians long before Jesus was even born. They were still following that same monotheistic religion, and to them it was offensive to have these faces of all these gods around because it's only one true and only one God, the great Amen.
But they take away and they don't teach us what really matters. To keep us separate and keep our powers suppressed. You know what I mean? To be to our powers. And one of our biggest powers, I believe, is that if we all move on that frequency and we come together, it's like a fucking atom bomb. You know what I mean? Like a positive atom bomb. Like if we all go and we all come together, we all see the right way, we all see it's a wrap. You can't have that shit.
Man, make the money. You are who you are. That's what you trying to tell me. All you got is time.